Let's get more analysis. Rick Perlstein joins us. He's a historian and author of the book Reaganland, America's Right Turn. Rick, thank you very much for being with us here in France 24. We appreciate your time. What are your thoughts at this stage? It is obviously incredibly close.
It's been an extraordinary campaign. I dissent from the consensus that it's close. I don't think we know if it's close or not. People don't answer their phones for polls anymore. The pollsters are basing their things on models that are very abstract and opaque. And we have a history in American presidential polling of very, very bad misses, for example, in 2016. So we're really only going to know, maybe not even tomorrow, but in the weeks to come. We do have the ability to say with certainty that America has inched closer to authoritarian governance than it has in any time in its history, with the possible exception of the states in the South during the era of slavery and segregation.
That is an interesting thing you say, and you corrected me in a very nice way. I thank you for that, because I said it's a close to you. You put me back in my box.
Maybe it is.
You did it very politely, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. But the point you just made there is really important, because you wrote a book about the right turn under Reagan, and I can recall, you know, as a younger aspiring journalist at the time, thinking Reagan was very extreme and very right-wing. But this is a whole new definition, what we're seeing now from Donald Trump, isn't it?
Right. As I write the history of this conservative movement in the Republican Party, what I see is a increasing ratchet towards authoritarianism that's really only ever gone in one direction, right? There's been kind of a story that Democrats tell themselves that when Republicans lose, that, you know, kind of the scales will right themselves and we'll return to this, you know, broadly consensual nation. But conservatives don't think of the world that way. They see the world in apocalyptic terms. They see themselves standing at Armageddon. A lot of them, in fact, are fundamentalist Christians who see the stakes as existential for humanity itself. And they see Democrats as the enemy. Many of them literally use language, for example, that Democrats are demonic, that they have nothing less than the severing of the bonds of civilization itself on their minds.
There are so many things that Donald Trump says which for many people just do not add up. But for his supporters, it seems to make no difference whatsoever.
Right, because this is not a logical argument. It's not kind of, you know, the Enlightenment way of thinking where you take evidence and logic and you conclude, you know, based on those ways of cogitating. It's about feeling, right? I mean, a lot of us have been using the word fascist to describe it. And, you know, there's some debate about that. But for me, the most important reason to use this word is that the kind of campaigning Republicans do now completely encloses their voters in an information bubble. And, you know, just a great example, you know, during the acceptance speech, Donald Trump said he was going to build an iron dome over America, you know, kind of like Israel has. Of course, America is like 1,000 times bigger than Israel. And, you know, the weapons that we would face in a war would be intercontinental ballistic missiles, not these kind of, you know, cheap rockets. So it's just a complete fantasy that he's going to protect you from everything that vexes you, that he's going to wreak vengeance on anything that harms you. And, you know, it's not a matter of, you know, spreadsheets and adding up which candidate has which position. They see the world in terms of good and evil. And we know from history that that is a very dangerous development. And we find ourselves in America on the precipice of something that could be very, very dire for our future and the world's future.
Rick, thank you very much indeed. We need to leave it there, but you've given us some real food for thought as we enter the, well, obviously we're into the final day of campaigning. Rick Perlstein there with that analysis, historian, man who wrote a book about Ronald Reagan, of course. At the time, many thought he was hard right, but totally redefined in terms of the position of Donald Trump on many of the issues that we are facing today. Rick, thanks again for your contribution. Great to have you here on France 24.
Good to be here. Bye-bye.